value in that sense. And hence, I think any one of you who has been very desirous of taking up a law degree as such, I think you need to take a decision on that. So welcome to this very special session on choosing the right law school for your career as such. We are almost in the middle of August. Ideally, by now, all the results would have come, and many of you would have probably joined the right institutes as, and you would have had a lot of choice available to you too. But today, as we speak, the much awaited, the CLAT exam itself is not over. As of today, it's slated on the September the 7th. We still do not know when the AILET is. Yes, other private exams are already over, whether it is a SLAT by the Symbiosis guys or the Christ guys and or the LSAT, which has conducted the LSAT, which is useful for many private business school, private law school. The bigger problem, and I can understand this not just for the students, but also for the parents, is that, hey, how do I choose? Like I have a admission in UPES. I have an admission in Christ. I have an admission in Jindal Law School. I have an admission in Bennett. I have admission somewhere else. But the CLAT exam is not even over. How then do I decide whether I should put my money in and block a seat? And it's not just blocking a seat. In fact, many institutes have said that they will start their sessions from September itself. Even before the CLAT exam is conducted, forget about the result and the actual counseling that happens at that point of time. We are discussing, saying that there is a significant amount of loss in terms of money that students and by corollary the parents are staring at. In such a kind of a time, we thought with Amitendra that I have with me right now, we will discuss a little bit on how do you even decide to take a business school, a law school, I beg your pardon. I keep saying this because if I have a admission in one of the colleges, first, you need to know where this college stands. Depending on where this college is and what is the chance of you or your ward, your child getting above this in terms of the CLAT exam, the NLU's, AILET, NLU Delhi's AILET, if there is a chance of getting there, then there is a case for foregoing the present seat that one has. But if there is no chance that you can get into XYZ level of institute, given the current mock CLAT scores that you're getting, and we have been doing a lot of mock CLATs these days. In fact, this year, I don't know whether Amitendra will kind of add a value to my number, but in general, if we had done 20 mocks, this time we have done 40 mocks. It's more than double, thanks to COVID, to be honest. Am I right, Amitendra?
More than that.
Much more than that. In fact, when people come back and ask us, sir, the exam is on September 7th, you are not giving us enough mocks, I do not know whether to laugh or cry. I mean, the number of classes that we have done, in fact, sometimes it comes back and says, hey, what else do I tell what I have already not told? Or what else can be discussed, what has already not got discussed in the sessions? Having said that, I think there are important things that you need to still decide on what you need to look at it. And that, I think, is very, very important to look at it. The next thing that is going to happen, one, the big thing is the Christ results are out and the LSAT results are out. So the Jindal, which is one of the top law schools that we have, one among the top law schools in the country itself, and even in the QS ranking, they have come right at the top. you will have to take a decision whether you want to join, put money there or not. And of course, the cost of it is not also cheap. SLS, the Symbiosis Law School, I am given to understand that the result is going to come tomorrow or day after tomorrow. If the result comes tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and from 21st, they are going to have probably their interviews or whatever else, then even before the IELT or the CLAT happens, the results of SLS Pune, SLS Noida, SLS Hyderabad will be out. Then how do I take a decision? I think these are some of the obvious questions that we have. I will try, along with my colleague Amitendra, to try to answer some of these things. There are no correct answers for these, my friends. In fact, there is no one answer that I can give. Individually, each one of us have to take a decision based on that, based on money that one has, based on the mock scores that you're getting. What we can do is give you a broad idea through a brush on how you take decisions. So we have come to you with certain ranking of colleges, and based on that ranking and based on what scores you are probably expected to get in the mocks, in the actual CLAT. By the way, it's still actual CLAT. Even if you get great marks in the mocks, that does not mean you will guarantee get into a very top CLAT institute. The reverse is also not true. Just because you're getting very bad scores in CLAT or the mock CLATs that we conduct, that does not necessarily mean that you will not get a great score in the actual CLAT. It's only a reference check that you can get it. I'm going to talk about that also. I will start with one very, very basic question lots of people are asking, and that is that, hey, CLAT and IP MAT are on the same day. What do we do? I think it's a very tough decision. If both the institutes, the IIM Indore and the CLAT consortium, if they stick to their decision of the timing, I do not know anything else. You can write to probably CLAT, you can write to probably IP MAT, that is IIM Indore, asking them for a change. But if ideally, if neither of the two changes, I think you will have to decide as a student, what is it that you finally want? It is very difficult, I understand. The reason why I'm saying it is very, very difficult is the law guys will say, hey, listen, what has that to do with an MBA? Similarly, the MBA guys or the BBA, MBA that we're talking about, the IP MAT guys will say, hey, what has this to do with the law? And therefore, it is very difficult, except for a very few people who are trying to get into, both the boards, who will get affected, kind of thing. My suggestion would be, look at your larger interest, look at what your primary interest actually, and second, you also look at, frankly, what's the scores you're getting in either the mock IP MATs or the mock CLATs, and based on that, you should take a decision in that sense. Okay? Right. Then, what about Indraprasth, Amitendra? Is there any, we have any updates on that?
Not at all. They have still extended the date to 31st August, actually. Till 15th of August. So I don't think any possibility happening before last of September. In fact, to add to your point, the students should be ready. They should come out with their decision if the clash remains between IPM 80 and CLAT. Even I'm wondering a little bit, because the authority conducting the exam for both is same, actually, TCS. So I'm quite surprised how they have planned it at the same time as well. So CLAT is scheduled 2 to 4 and that is also around 3 to 5. So I'm sure they'll take some action. But unless we get a confirmatory news from them, I think we should better be prepared.
Right. And there are lots of other questions people will keep asking. What about Bharati Vidyapith? What about NLC Pune? What about ICFI Dehradun? What about NMIMS? What about X? What about Y? I think what we will try to do is restrict it to the top 40 colleges, top 40 law schools, including the NLUs today, as far as my session, as far as our session is concerned. Having said that, all of you, some of you would be students of LST, the Career Launcher LST. Please get in touch with your respective directors in your respective centers, and or probably mail it to Mr. Amitendra or myself, and we will try to help you out as we go along. Is that fine? So on what basis? So I'm going to take the next 10 minutes on how did we come about? How did we come about making these ranks? There is no ranking available anywhere. It is a completely LST sponsored, decided, researched ranking that we have given. We do not claim, mind you, we do not claim this is the perfect ranking. We believe that these are some of the parameters that we have picked up, and in each of the parameters we have some information thanks to our students over the last 10 years in each of these colleges. Based on that, based on what is available in the public domain, based on in-depth, I would want to call it research, we have come out with our solutions or with our ranking. Let me honestly tell you, this ranking is a LST ranking with a very clear disclaimer that NIRF ranking may be different, some other institutes ranking may be different, some other publications ranking may be different. We, with our tremendous background, understanding and knowledge, we have come out with this ranking. Having said this, I would be very, very honest with you. You will have to take this decision based on not only our ranking, but also your own partial research, if not full research. You can't do for 20, you may not be able to do it for 40 schools, but you can do it for the 2 schools between which you need to take a decision. And I would very vehemently and very strongly recommend that you do a little bit of a R&D for yourself when you have to finally choose between the 2 law schools that you have to finally pick up in that sense. As far as we are concerned, we have a pecking order, and on what basis we have done, I'm going to talk to you in the next moment. Mr. Amitendra Kumar will take you through the law schools. There are lots of questions that we will have about various institutes. We will take between the 2 of us at the end of the session. Till that time, hold your horses. How do you look? On what basis do you look at taking a decision for your law school? Yes, of course, the college ranking is very, very important, and that's what we're going to do. But the second thing is, it's not just the ranking, but also it's the fee structure. For example, someone may not be able to afford a 8 lakh per annum, 5 years, 40 lakhs per annum. It may be the best school and you don't have the loans. You may not want to afford that. You may want to afford only 2.5 lakhs or 12.5 lakhs. I think that is also an issue. So a college ranking is based on various things, but fee structure is something which you might have to look at it based on the pocket that you have. Talk to your parents if you're a student, and the parents look at it as how it is going to really, really pan out for you over the next 5 months, 5 years. I beg your pardon again. Here is one general advice to all the parents, and this I have given over the last 20 plus years, and therefore I think it is very, very important that I give this to all the parents who incidentally are probably going through same kinds of negative, positives and negatives of what one has to do. Education, to my mind, is an investment. It's as much of an investment as like investing in a house. Difference is, yes, the house that you invest in can grow in value here, but the growth in a house value could be very, very steady, 5%, 10%, 20% on a normal, but after some time it stops. Education, and the right kind of education, if you can give it to your ward, to your child, the benefits of that education is going to be there for the next 35, 40 years. And hence, my friends, and I'm using this for all the parents here, please realize that there is a way in which you need to take a decision. Yes, you don't go out of your way to kind of sell something to send somebody to a college, but that's something in India we as parents have always done. We have put education above that. Having said that, it also should rationalize with what the student, that is your child, is capable of. It is very important for you to realize that you need to know and very honestly from your own side the feedback, rather than saying mera beta ya meri beti bahut achhi hai kind of things, which is possibly correct, or all of us, in our eyes, our children are really, really good. I think a hard, rational decision of what the student is capable of, and in a very objective manner you should take, while being objective also in raising the money, raising the fees for the student. As simple. That's what's going to be by. So the other thing is about placements, internships. What have we looked at and why are they important? I'm going to talk about it in the first 5-10 minutes more, and then we will look at all the rankings. So the fee structure, the placements in all the colleges. Let's see whether the colleges have all the placements or not. Internship opportunities. This is, I think, probably far more important than anything else. And the last one is location. I suspect if I get a Mumbai location or a Delhi location as compared to a Patiala, probably, I'm not saying Patiala is bad or good, but Bombay is better or a Delhi is better. That's all. With all due respects to Patiala, this is better. A Vishakhapatnam may be a good institute, but if one can get into Hyderabad, why not? Similarly, a Bangalore is a better location than probably a Kochi or a Cochin in terms of the location itself. Having said that, there is a reputation also. We will look at that and how we will take up a decision on that. So how did we come out with this? As I said in the very beginning, and I'm reiterating it, there is no standard ranking for law schools. Even NIRF rankings do not include law schools, and to a large extent, NIRF rankings are based on research. You know, the institute's faculty members' research and the research output is a far bigger component than, let's say, the students' placements or students' internships or students' studies itself. The reason is very simple. Universities work differently. Students and Indian students and the way what we want out of a law school probably will work differently. So we have considered that also. And frankly speaking, many rankings, especially if it is not done by an independent body, will have bias. We at LST, CL-LST are as agnostic to any school as anybody else. And that is the reason why we are strongly sure that our ranking is the least biased. I'm not saying we are not biased. Our bias is more of a omission or a commission rather than a deliberate bias. And that is what I want you to understand. The other thing, on what basis one discusses, see, frankly, fee structure is an important part. NLUs will cost about 2.5 lakhs. Amitendra, does it include staying also, this 2.5 lakhs?
Yeah.
Whereas when it comes to Symbiosis or a Christ, it is 2.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs and an accommodation is extra. So clearly there is a extra amount. That's probably about 3.5 to 4 lakhs, almost double the amount of NLUs. JGLS, the Jindal Global Law School, will be close to 8.5 lakhs per annum. So clearly, we are talking about various kinds of decisions to be taken. Obviously, government universities will have the lowest, whether it's GLC in Mumbai or ILS in Pune, will have far lower scores, lower fees than some of the NLUs even. One question that probably I will leave in between as a parent also: how do I decide between BHU and Symbiosis? To Amitendra straight away. It's a kind of a conversation that I want to make with you.
Sure. So when the point here is because many a times I get this query that, sir, BHU fee is quite less. It's hardly around 30,000-40,000 a year. And Symbiosis would cost me roughly around 4 lakhs per year, including my accommodation. And I have to stay in a PG and all those stuff. So I'll be worried. Pune, most of the parents do not like the city. And there are a lot of reasons out of it, actually. Now, we need to understand the greater objective. What is the objective of you joining a law college? No doubt, BHU is a name in itself, but isn't it BHU known more for its engineering and medicine programs and the general graduation programs? It has not been a very big name even in the 3-year law segment as such. Now, when I'm looking at a law school, when I'm looking at that next 5 years, that's the investment I'm making for myself for next 30, 40 years, actually. So these 5 years are my stepping stone for next 30, 40 years. Whatever risk I have to take, this is the time frame. If I go with this agenda that probably today I can spend less amount of money, I think that will have a bigger impact. I'll have to look at the quality. The problem with lot of government law schools would be they work with the old mindset that yes, we are here to teach. And that is more or less the example for GLC Mumbai. Why GLC has been still doing good as compared to other law colleges, the government law colleges, because the students there are quite ambitious themselves. The best of the students come out there. It is no doubt one of the preferred choices. And look at what they do. Right from day one, they get into internships, which is not the case with this other government law colleges. So this is where I believe, I think fee would be a criteria for a larger number of students, but there is something where we'll have to look, that government college will provide me the equal opportunity as compared to a symbiosis? Will there be moot courts? Will there be extracurriculars? I think this is where most of this government law school will lack, actually, I think. So we have to look at a larger picture, because these 5 years are going to be my investment for next 30 years.
Absolutely correct. And then we look at placements also. Typically, the factors to consider are, will there be placements? Lots of people do not know it, but please be aware that except for the top 5 colleges, maybe 6 colleges in the entire country, not all of them have 100% placements in these law schools. That does not mean nobody gets it. In fact, one of the considerations why people don't take a law or a placement is also because somebody will go for an LLM, somebody will go for a judiciary, somebody wants to work with a Supreme Court or a High Court or a district court's lawyers at the initial stages, or judges at the initial stages, take up experience and then become a judge tomorrow morning, or anything else. So there are various reasons why placements are not 100%. So it is important, and when we have taken decisions on the ranking, we have also considered that as our a very important parameter apart from fees as a thing. So for example, the return on investment also is an important thing in that sense. Placement, of course, we believe is not a right. For any student who works really well in those 5 years of their BA-LLB or a BBA-LLB, whichever course that they take up, I think if they do the right number of internships and show the right attitude towards it, getting a good placement is not a major job. More and more corporates are picking up. More and more corporates are looking for lawyers. And I think with investments in India becoming bigger and bigger, corporate lawyers are always going to be in demand. Then the other thing, how will placements be affected when there is a strong alma mater connect? You know, alumni network matters the most in most places. So even if what we have looked at is there a connection between various NLUs, various law schools, and is there a connection kind of things? And the last one, of course, placement is the second level or the last level, even internships availability. And that's where I go to. Internship is become now a mandatory part of a lot of curriculums. And it's important to note, and again reiterating it, it is very, very important to note that you don't get unnecessarily a parcha for that. You don't get a unnecessary certificate for that. One encouragement we have made, and I'm sure the good law schools have always done, is force the students to go to these internships. That way, you know, you don't really have to look at a final selection. You will automatically get a PPO, and that is what makes this really, really good. And almost all the good schools, and that is where the private law schools are now becoming better, like Amitendra sir was saying, where we are saying that a government law school teachers don't have any reason why they have to provide opportunities to students. They will help you, but that doesn't mean that this is what they will do. But here, a lot of private schools are becoming better, and NLUs also are becoming better, because NLUs are managed by the students themselves, like the IIMs, the IITs, which is what is which is the reason why they get the edge in terms of getting the internships, not just Indian internships, but also internships abroad. Last but not the least, I will take you through the next part, which is a location requirement. In general, we have looked at a metro over a small town. A premium location generally ensures a better exposure, and obviously and naturally, a location makes a lot of role or plays a lot of role in getting internships, getting moot courts, as my colleague was saying, projects, conferences, ability to attend debates and conferences will become absolutely important. And last but not the least, the courts which are there in that place, around that place, will also make a huge advantage, even if you have to do an internship for free. So that, my friends, is the starting point of my discussion today. In the next 3 slides, we will discuss the ranking of the NLUs, the government colleges, and the private law schools. And in the last 2 slides, or the last slide, so to say, we will also look at the pecking order of these colleges. That is what our endeavor is. Amitendra, may I request you to take it up from here, so that a lot of questions can be asked by
sure.
Students. Okay?
Can you stop the screen share?
Yeah, I can do that. You can do.
Okay, so is my screen visible to all of you? So
yes,
yeah,
yes.
Wonderful. So guys, this is something which you are all familiar with, because the moment the CLAT forms come out, we come out with our preference ranking every time. So this is the session I did around first week of January, and most of you have already seen my video either live or in the recorded format. So first, let us talk about the national law universities, then we'll talk about the private law colleges, and we'll also be discussing the government law colleges, some of the important ones, and then we'll look at the pecking order, as Arks said. So I think there has to be no doubt as far as the first 2 are concerned. NLS Bangalore and NALSA, there can't be a doubt over there actually. NLS Bangalore is the first national university to be established, the first one to come out with your 5-year curriculum. They started in the year 1986, so we understand almost 30 batches have already graduated. A very strong alumni network. And I think we must give credit to the entire NLS story, because it's not something that law was something new to this country, or legal education was something new to this country till NLS came up. But we had legal education, we had law colleges right from 1855. When we talk about GLC, that was the year it got started. But then if you look at what the story completely changed, I refer it as first form of legal reforms, legal education reforms actually. So between the Bangalore and Hyderabad, the legacy is still out there actually. And with every year, the top rankers going out there, I think that will continue to be there actually in that format. Now, over a period of time, NLE Delhi, which started in the year 2008, has picked up really, I would say. And obviously, you need to understand who are the people at the handling the affairs actually. So no doubt, when I look at the Vice Chancellor, who is also credited to start NALSAR at the first place, I think that was a story which was bound to happen. Now, the query most of the time is, what about NUJS Calcutta and NLU Delhi? Now, the answer is very, very simple. Both are equally good. But if you have decided that I want to go for litigation, I want to go for, let's say, judicial services, or I want to go for civil services, I think between the two, the preference can go to NLU Delhi. Just to give you a reference about 2016 graduating batch of NLU Delhi, almost 16 students from that batch have cleared the UPSC civil services examination in the last 3 years itself actually. So I think the similar to NALSAR, civil services story is building up at NLU Delhi. So if you have this career aspiration, litigation, because the advantage of being in Delhi with the Supreme Court, with the best brains working out there, practicing out there, you getting an opportunity, these people coming to your campus, I think that's what really help NLU Delhi actually. So between the two, it will be based on your career aspirations, equally good. Followed by Jodhpur, Bhopal, Gandhinagar, Mumbai. Mumbai started in the year 2015. The first batch is about to graduate. Now, we do understand it does still not have a permanent location, but that doesn't matter. Most of the law schools started with a similar story. There were very few law schools which were fortunate to have the infrastructure in place while they were about to start, like NLU Delhi. They had the infrastructure in place. But most of the law schools for almost 3 years, 4 years, 5 years did not get the permanent infrastructure actually. So that's the reason I say infrastructure does matter, but not to a larger extent. Yeah, if other facilities are already out there, if other facilities are being provided to you. And Mumbai, no doubt, has the location advantage. No doubt has the location advantage. You are talking about a location which is the financial hub of the country, where most of the law firms are also situated. So getting those internship opportunity would not be that difficult. A story which you will find in GLC Mumbai, that's happening out there in GLC Mumbai. I was going through the queries of yours, and somebody asked in the chat box, you have put Cuttack above Raipur. That's completely basis the feedback. In the last few years, there is a little bit of dissatisfaction, I would say, at HNLU Raipur because of some incidences. Things are going back to normal, but yes, Cuttack has really gone ahead actually they have worked really hard to come to that position. The peer group is really folding up good. If you look at the campus, if you look at the opportunities coming in terms of internship and everything, NLU Cuttack has been doing really good. And if you can recall my session of the form filling for CLAT, I said you can make some distinct choices, but do not tamper with the first 7, 8 at least. That is where it has to be actually, because you'll end up losing a good college if you tamper these 7, 8 rankings actually. So followed by Patiala, Lucknow, which almost incidentally started in the same year. Then we have CNLU Patna. Between NUSRL Ranchi and NUL's Kochi, you can decide basis your location actually. Both are equally competitive at this point of time, though Ranchi started quite late, but it has gradually picked up. If you look at the students graduating from and getting opportunities, they are already getting opportunities from law schools abroad, publishing, they are publishing their articles, and everything is happening out there. So the college is really focusing with a young vice chancellor now in place, coming from a National Law School Bangalore background. I think things are going to go forward only, and much better for the NUSRL Ranchi. So if you are not comfortable, let's say you are from North India, many a times the query is I'm not comfortable moving to South India, probably you can pick up Ranchi, or vice versa, you can pick up Kochi. Then we have a list of all the national universities which started in the last few years, starting 2010, 2011 actually. So in the last 5, 7 years, we had lots of NLUs almost every year. We had NLUs coming up. Probably would have expected one more this year from Uttarakhand, but I think because of this situation, the current pandemic, that did not get the chance to start actually. But then the listing beyond Vishakhapatnam is more on the year of the establishment, because the batches from here are yet to graduate. So it would be unfair if I compare a new law school with an already established law schools where placements have already been happening, where some batches have already moved ahead, and we have a lot of data in terms of internship. So it would be unfair, but no doubt. So this is not the overall pecking order we are talking about. This is just about the national universities at this point of time. Among the private law schools, and I think this will solve your query to some extent as well. Definitely will pick it up, but this will solve your query to some extent. JGLS has definitely come up well in the last 11 years of the establishment. 2009 was the year when Jindal Global Law School Sonipat was established, and already 4 batches have graduated. They have done really good, an established name today. And one of the wonderful aspects about JGLS is the academics. While a large number of national universities are struggling to have full-time faculty members and full-time professors, In most of the colleges, including private colleges, the struggle is about the faculty members. You will find most of the time assistant professors taking the classes, but this is where your JGLS has done a really good job. And if you look at the faculty pool, if you look at the ratio between faculty and students, that's almost 1:9. And some of the great names in the field of legal education, if I talk about Professor Upinder Bakshi, if I talk about Professor B.S. Chimney, or former Vice Chancellor of NEJS Kolkata, Professor M.P. Singh, who had been Dean of Faculty of Law, Delhi University as well. And these stalwarts are now part of JGLS. So I think the one institution which is really investing in the faculty members. So this gives a lot of I think this helps you solve your query about JGLS. How good is it or how bad is it? Symbiosis Law School Pune, we have Symbiosis Law School Noida. Hyderabad started in the year 2014, but it has got good feedback now from the students. They have been really pushing themselves up, and they have done really good as Symbiosis Noida today. If you go and interact with the student from Symbiosis Law School Hyderabad, they are one of the most satisfied lot in the country actually, and they have been doing really well actually. They are really satisfied. Nirma University Ahmedabad, most of the time you'll come across one of the drawbacks from the student perspective, that it's too disciplined. They talk about discipline a lot actually, and I think if parents are listening to me, I think they would have loved to hear this out actually. So discipline is something which is required, and because you are too young to understand the importance of it, but that is something which is very, very important. Nirma has been doing really good. The admissions would be on the basis of CLAT scores, so we'll have to wait for some time now. NMIMS Mumbai, yes, they have also come out with their results based on LSAT scores, but those who did not apply through LSAT score, you applied through CLAT basis. The last date has been further extended to 13th of September. You have a chance out there, still out there. So if you perform well in the CLAT, you get into NMIS Mumbai. NMIMS, I would say, has been is backed by the Narsimonji group. So no doubt about it, Narsimonji has been a fantastic name in the field of education. It is backed by the Kirit P. Mehta Law School, the name of the law school. So they are backed by Narsimonji group. At the same time, the location comes to their advantage, being in Mumbai. So a well-reputed name already, and then the location gives them the added advantage. Then we have UPS Dehradun, we have Christ University Bangalore, both at par with each other. So then we have Christ University Delhi NCR, which is located precisely in Ghaziabad actually. So another fine institutions coming up. We have KIT Bhubaneswar on the east side of the country actually, and then we have Christ University Labasa. There would be some more private colleges actually, as Arks said, we'll be covering about some 40 odd colleges today. See, from an individual perspective, you'll have to take calls. Now, some of you might be applying to Bennett as well. Now, I was reading one of the queries. One of you have been offered 100% scholarship. Now, just because you have been 100% offered 100% scholarship should not be the criteria to join any college. Even if NLS comes to your rescue and gives you 100% scholarship, that should not be the deciding criteria. Please evaluate the college. If you are staying not very far from the college, can you take out an opportunity? Can you go to the college, seek feedback? Obviously not the right time to do that, but can you get hold of some of the alumni, speak to them, some of the students who are already studying out there, get some real-time feedback before you make a move. Just because somebody is offering you a scholarship does not mean that you definitely take up that college, because that will help you save a lot of money. Again and again, we have been telling you this. This is going to be an investment. Your education is your investment. So you'll have to take calls very decisively. Now, we have some really good government colleges as well. So we have GLC Mumbai, we have ILS Pune, we have University School of Law and Legal Studies, which is part of IP University, Indraprastha University, Delhi. Then we have Vivekanand. Now, Vivekanand is a private college, but I have included into the government part. The reason is because the admissions and the entire course of study for the next 5 years will be monitored by IP University of Delhi. So IP University is a state university of Delhi, and they will be governing the entire 5 years curriculum for these colleges actually. Though there are more colleges, but these two are the best names among the IP university colleges. Then we have a similar story out there in Mumbai, Praveen Gandhi College of Law, Rijvi. These two are private entities, but they are part of Mumbai University, and selection to these two colleges will happen on MHCET basis, something which we don't know as of now. When the exams are going to be conducted for MHCET, there is no update coming from their end. And given the situation in Maharashtra, I don't think there is a possibility at least till last week of September. So it will all depend how the next 15 days go as far as state of Maharashtra is concerned in terms of managing the COVID out there. I think a lot would depend on that actually. In fact, a lot would depend for all the examinations, though I was hesitant to share this, but tomorrow we have a hearing in Supreme Court for JEE and NEET, and a lot of other exams will be completely dependent on the outcome of the hearing tomorrow, actually, no doubt about that, including MHCET, including other examinations. Navalmal Firodia is the college located in Pune. The parent group is Ferguson College, actually. The law college is known as Navalmal Firodia. Then we have Punjab University, and those students from Punjab who are attending the session today, I'm sure you are really familiar with this, and I'm sure I'm getting a lot of college query out there as to what is your take on Punjab University. No doubt, it's fantastic. This year they have done away with the entrance part, so they'll be admitting students on the class 12th marks basis. And then we have BHU Varanasi, for which I already clarified through that query between BHU and Symbiosis. So these are the top 40 colleges, I would say, in the country. And if I were to look at the pecking order of these colleges, if I were to decide which among these colleges I should be choosing, what could be the possible ranking for these colleges. So let's pay a little bit of attention over here. And as Arks put a disclaimer at the beginning of the session, there has been a lot of thought which has gone into making this pecking order. Most importantly, the feedback from our alumni, from the students who are already there in these law schools, and the other factors have definitely been considered while we present to you this pecking order. So the tentative rankings, I would say, to a larger extent, but this will definitely help you take those important decisions as to which college to take up and which college to leave. So I'm sure between the first two, there's no doubt. Between NUJS Calcutta and NLU Delhi, I clarified you why NLU Delhi should be the reason actually. Reiterating, if you are looking forward to litigation, if you're looking forward to judicial services, because you need to understand why judicial services. For judicial services and civil services, colleges do not matter. You can be from any college. You have to write an entrance further. You have to write the exams. But then, is there an environment when you are there in a college? Do you have that environment? So as I stated about civil services for Delhi, NLU Delhi, where there is already an environment, just like Nalsar Hyderabad, about civil services. But if you are in a city like Delhi, where you have some best coaching opportunities for judicial services, most of the young people from different parts of the country actually move to Delhi for judicial services preparation. So I think being in Delhi will definitely give you that edge. Why litigation? Supreme Court, one of the biggest reasons. You have the best minds in the field of law practicing out there. We have Delhi Legal Services Authority, which gives internship opportunities to the students. Networking is something which you can look forward to. So that is something which gives you that edge. No doubt about that. Placements wise, both are equivalent. NEJS Calcutta, NLU Delhi, almost at, if I have to look at every parameter, they would be at par with each other. But these three career choices, then definitely you can take a call between Delhi and Calcutta. Between Jodhpur and Bhopal, don't have any issues. But yes, this is where JGLS also comes into picture. I talked about JGLS, the faculty profile. If you talk about the placements have been happening out there, and within a span of just 11 years, they have made a mark in the field of legal education. Guys, you also need to understand It's not that being an older institution will always have an edge. That's a story you need to understand from GLC perspective or an ILS perspective, for that matter, or even for that matter, other schools like BHU. JLC happens to be the first law college of India. And now you understand where it has moved and where the top NLUs are. Some institution comes in 1986 and completely changed the scope of education and is now at the top of the order, actually. I'm talking about Bangalore. So you need to understand year of establishment does matter, but not to a larger extent. JGLS has done really well. Now, of course, fee would be a concern. Not everybody would be able to afford. I'm sure a lot of you did apply to LSAT because JGLS was the reason, because the other college of LSAT, which are participating in LSAT, they also admit students through CLAT and other exams. So I think the prime reason you applied to LSAT was JGLS. That I can understand. Now, when you applied, you also had that in mind, actually. So I'm sure you would have gone through that discussion within your family. So when you are selecting a college, though, I'll definitely say it's an investment. I know the fee is a little bit higher. They'll be providing some sort of scholarships to some of the students, actually, but that would be declared at a later stage. To what extent it helps your cause, that would be that you'll be knowing at a certain point of time, probably around first week of September. But if the burden is not so high that you'll be getting into too much of loans, I think JGLS definitely can be considered. One point more. At times, we'll have to take some risks, and those risks has to be financial. Now, if I look at the refund policy of JGLS, if you apply for refund till 31st of August, 90% will be refunded back, 10% will not be. But if you apply for refund till 14th of September, 80% will be refunded back, 20% will be taken by JGLS, or they'll not refund that back. I think this is where you need to take a call. Am I willing to take that financial risk? Because if hopefully CLAT happens on 7th, believe me, you'll have your results by 9th or 10th in your hand. Because even if they don't come out with this course, they'll come out with the questions, and they'll come out with your OMR copy. The answer, in this case, this is online actually. So you'll get to know the moment they'll release the question and answer, you'll know your scores. And obviously with all the buzz around, you'll get to know where do I stand more or less right now. The ranks would be more or less clear by 10th of September itself. So I think you still can take that call in next 4 days, whether I want to withdraw, depending on what your score would be. So I think that financial risk has to be understood and discussed in your family, if you can take that actually. So then comes Gandhinagar, Mumbai, Cuttack. I think that's not a concern. Now, between CNLU Patna, Symbiosis Law School Pune, and GLC Mumbai, they are more or less equivalent, but a lot of factors will come into play. When I talk about GLC Mumbai, what is the biggest advantage GLC has to offer? Now, the classes at GLC generally happen in morning. The culture is to teach. And after that, probably by 11:30, students get free. So the classes happen around 8:30 to 11:30 in the morning. And the entire day for the students is largely free. What happens? Most of the students, and because this has a culture, this is a culture which has developed over the last few decades, even the youngsters like you who will join the college will be tempted to go out and take long-term internships or long-term project. And this is what has helped GLC to still remain in the top 20 or top 15 bracket, because the students on their own have done a good job for themselves, have been, because of the internships, the seriousness they have shown, they have been able to attract placements for themselves. May not be as high as NLS Bangalore, but they have done a really fantastic job. Symbiosis Law School Pune, if I look at overall batch strength would be 300. The placements would be close to 50 to 55% of the batch. In terms of the people sitting for the placement process, I'm not saying it is that exact the figure. You need to understand there would be a lot of students who would not be sitting for the placements for other reasons, judiciary, LLM, civil services, lot of other factors, MBA even actually. But between the three, you can definitely take a call, which one is more suited, which one is more convenient. CNLU Patna, you can see a culture kind of being developing out there. A lot of focus has gone to judicial services actually, a lot of focus. In the last batch, majority of the students actually, almost 40% of the students cleared the Bihar Judicial Services examination actually, which is a quite a feat in itself actually, you need to understand. Kochi.
I'll just add one important thing here, Amitendra. So one decision, like I said in the very beginning is, I'll just go back. Can you go back to the previous one?
Sure.
Yeah. So how do you take a decision also is frankly based on the kind of mock scores I just discussed. But hopefully the exam will get over on September 7th. And in the next 3-4 days, you will get to know what score if you get, what kind of a NLU you will probably be able to get through that CLAT exam. We will be on 7th itself. We will be coming out and explaining to you what could be the cutoffs on each of the NLUs as of today. People have asked us throughout the last 4 months whether or not the scores will go up, because there has been so much of extra time that everybody got for preparation. Let me assure you, all students, and definitely for all parents, if anything, the cutoff will go down, not go up. Simply because very few people have had that drive to continue putting in effort, and I think it is really obvious, and I think it's okay. Don't worry about it. We will look at it. Anybody getting more than 100 marks in the mocks or in the actual NLU, in the actual CAT around 90 plus marks, there is a chance that at least you'll get in the 21st NLU, if not better kind of things. That is my simple take on it. But do not worry about one or two things. Like, for example, there's Vedang Sri Vijay who's asking, sir, Bhopal has gone down a lot. Do you think, what should you do kind of things? 1 year, 2 years, certain things have happened is not a reason why a 20-year-old institute or a 15-year-old institute will go down or go up. And the reason why an institute is good or bad is basically because of the students getting into it. It will take its own time to go down or go up. But like Sir Amitendra has correctly said, 1 or 2 up and down will not make a too much of difference. What will make a difference is how much of effort are you putting in. Keep that in mind when you are finally deciding. We will of course help you, as well as all my team members across the country in LST will help you to take that such kind of decisions. Yeah, Amitendra, continue.
Yeah, thanks, Arks. Thanks for adding it. So between NLS Kochi, NLS Ranchi, I already explained you. So what could be your thought process behind your decision? Noida, Symbiosis Law School, Noida, Hyderabad. Noida has the biggest advantage in terms of being located in NCR. Of course, coming from a Symbiosis group, backed by the Symbiosis group. And when it started in the year 2010, I have been following it right for the last 1 decade. So when it started in the year 2010, the best of the team members from Pune were sent here. I think the intentions were really clear. Noida, Symbiosis Law School, Noida wanted to make a mark itself in the North India segment actually. And I think that they have been really successful in doing that actually. But what worked to their advantage is definitely the location being next to Delhi. Noida itself is a developed city, a smart city, but being next to Delhi has definitely helped them actually, with offices of the law firms being here, with the courts, the high courts, the Supreme Courts. I think the opportunities have come to the students, and they have been really having a fantastic journey right from day one of the batch itself actually. Hyderabad started in 2014, has been doing really wonderful actually. Nagpur I have not included in the list if you have that query, because Nagpur has just started last year. It is yet to shape up. So we'll definitely have the feedbacks in the couple of years, and then we'll probably look forward to that. Obviously, students from Nagpur will be looking forward to it. Should not be your first criteria, but given the domicile reservation which they have offered specifically for the students of Nagpur, but please understand you need to evaluate your prospects at other colleges as well. IP University Delhi has a similar advantage. The IP main law department, which is University School of Law and Legal Studies, excellent feedback. Compared to some other private law schools, the batch size is almost comparative. So 240 students are admitted every year, but then they offer you an opportunity to study both BLLB and BBLLB depending on your choice, which you can pick up. But then the biggest advantage has been the location itself. ILS Pune, ILS is no doubt one of the most uh, important names when it comes to legal education. It is one of the oldest colleges in the country. Over the few years, definitely few things have not worked to that to their favor, but I think they have still been able to manage their fort actually, given the top rankers from MHCET definitely prefer ILS Pune. And if you have interacted me, I have got an opportunity to interact with you whenever we have discussed about colleges, I've been really frank. See, of all the things, peer group is something which is very, very important. Peer group is something which you must keep in your mind. When you have people who have secured better ranks, when you have people who are part of the college, and when they have the interaction, when they have the learning happening together, I think that is a notch level up, no doubt about that. Nirma University has been really good over the period of time. They have developed themselves actually as a really fantastic institutions. So, and in fact, the entry to Nirma University has been really tough over the last few years. So generally the cutoff has been, in terms of, if I have to talk about the CLAT rank basis, the first list of Nirma University generally have people who have anywhere up to roughly around 1300 rank in CLAT, which means you are looking forward to almost a similar position where you'll be getting some of the middle level NLUs actually. So depending on the category and everything actually. UPS Dehradun has been doing a decent job over the years. They have really made a mark for themselves. Earlier started as a very specialized institution offering some very specific specializations like energy laws and the corporate law. But over a period of time, they have diversified. They are offering other areas of specialization as well. Christ University, Bangalore, has been a reputed name. They were earlier a college as part of the Bangalore University, but around 2006 or 2007, they became a university, and they have expanded in the last 2-3 years across different other locations. So they have been doing a really good name. Christ is definitely a better brand name. So as Arks said in the beginning, if I were to choose between a Vishakhapatnam and probably Bangalore, I'll definitely pick up Bangalore, looking at the location, the metros, and obviously with the Karnataka High Court out there. So I'll have added opportunities of internship out there actually. NMIS Mumbai, the Kirit Mehta Law School actually. So when we talk about NMIMS Mumbai, the law school is known as Kirit P. Mehta Law School. For those who have secured the seat through LSAT, you can take your chances out here, or else the last date to apply is till 13th of September. Through CLAT, you can still do that. CLAT window has already been opened for the preference update, and those who could not make the payment earlier, they can now make the payment. So some edits is also available out there. Between Guwahati, then at par, we have the NCR, Praveen Gandhi at Mumbai, and Rizvi Sastra University. Those who are from South must be familiar with Sastra University. Has done really well in the last couple of years and is an upcoming institutions. And then we have KIT Bhubaneswar. So more or less, if you look at the pecking order of the institution, this will be the entire story actually. Now, there are many institutions which probably you want to discuss, which are left out. See, you need to understand. There are more than 1,000 law colleges in India. If I include the 3-year curriculum, if I include the 5-year curriculum, there are more than 1,000 law colleges approved by Bar Council of India. If I look at the good colleges, even including the so-called a little bit higher than average colleges, my numbers would get restricted to some 40-45 odd colleges. I may have missed at least a couple of names out here. I don't think so, but if I have missed, you can send me the individual queries on that actually. But despite all these rankings, when you make a decision about a college, it should be based on all the parameters. And most important is what exactly you are looking forward to. That is most important actually. So when you are evaluating, if you have clarity about your career goals post legal education of 5 years, what exactly you want to do for next probably at least 10 years, if not 30 years in the field of law, I think that is one of the important criteria to look forward to the institutions. Whether you get opportunity in terms of networking for litigation, whether you get opportunity in terms of getting an environment for civil services, whether you get opportunities in terms of preparing for your postgraduate courses, I think every factor has to be evaluated. So with CLAT happening with a little bit of delay, I think you spend some time in next few days to take those important calls. I think we have been very much clear as far as JGLS is concerned. Most of you had that query between JGLS. Should we wait? I think I have explained. You need to understand the financial risk of it. I think that would really help you to take the important decision out there. Okay, so I think here I would close the session. And in fact, if you have any important queries, most of the queries I can see is more or less kind of repetitive. Somebody probably may have joined late. If NEET get postponed, CLAT will also get postponed. See, our job is not to speculate. Our job is not to speculate. Your job is to prepare well for the examination, and I think you just remain focused to that. Let the authorities decide as and when whether they want to postpone or not. It will all depend on the authorities. I'm sure they understand all your concerns. They will definitely look at that, and whatever dates they announce, definitely they'll come up with that. Khushi, Christ Pune is actually Christ Lavasa. It is not exactly located in the city of Pune. It's a little bit far away from there in the hill town of Lavasa. Actually, it's a hill town, actually hill station, I would say, on that side of the country. So it is located out there.
I think we should go to the last one in that sense. And friends, the last 1 hour, what we try to do is to give you a kind of an idea of how you choose anything at all in the first place. There will always be questions beyond this, beyond all the colleges that we have put in. If there are 1 or 2 questions, and for example, somebody is asking, what about X or what about Y? Very clearly, all those colleges will come below these 40 colleges that we have given. That is first thing that you need to understand. Now, if you can get into any of these 40, pick it up. If you can't get into any of these 40, then there are the next 10, 20, 30 colleges, whether it is the other institutes that you're talking about, you can go ahead and take a final decision on based on certain feedback. We will help you in that feedback also. But more importantly, I would say, you will have to take that extra feedback from the student, like Mr. Amitendra has talked about, maybe finding out a little more about that institute than taking a random decision, right? What happens if you have not opted for SLAT and wants to take admission? I don't think you will get in.
If you have not given the exam for SLAT, and most importantly, though you gave the exam for SLAT, but if you did not apply to the institutions,
you will not get
day after tomorrow, when they'll be declaring the cutoffs, they will not have your name, so you can't appear for PI, and obviously you are not part of the selection process. Scores will be released today as far as SLAT is concerned, but the cutoffs will be declared tomorrow or day after. It's just you get to know about this course today. The actual PIs start 21st of August. So be careful, be watchful. Next 3 days, whenever they announce, you'll have to clearly give your preference for the PI slot. If you delay, you'll be the first one to give the interview.
Yeah. Government law colleges versus lower ranked NLUs. I think there is no one direct information on that, but most of the NLUs will always be better off because of the kind of a curriculum and because of the way they have come into picture. Certain colleges like the GLC, ILS, USSLC, like of Delhi, etc., are always going to be slightly better off than the other colleges. I think it is going to be individual driven that you need to take it up. That's it. Fair enough. Okay.
Same question. Can we talk about the cutoffs for the NLUs?
Again, Reva, I have answered this question 25 times to you. It will be around 110 or 115 or 120, depending on the level of difficulty. On the day of the exam, we will tell you. There's no point in wasting our time or your time for that matter to try to reduce. Here is one simple point I'll make. If you can get more marks, please try to get that mark. Don't try to unnecessarily guess just because I am saying that 120 marks chahiye to get into a NLU, top NLU. And if unfortunately on that day of the exam, the paper is extremely tough, by randomly attempting more, you will be in a disadvantage. Similarly, if I say that 100 is the cutoff and you get complacent, whereas the paper is so easy that like for example, it happened in CLAT 2019, I think you will be missing out if you don't attempt enough. So go ahead and attempt as per your ability on that, in that 2 hours of the exam, whatever it is. Forget about everything else as far as finally getting into any NLU is concerned. This is not the time to. Anyway, we have been taking lots of strategy sessions. For that, we will discuss that as we go along.
I think that would be all. So the
one last statement I'll make, whether should we take a break or take any lower level NLU, higher level NLU, general BA legal studies instead of taking a break. I think this is not a generalized answer. Each one of you have to take a decision based on what is your aspiration level and where do you want to see yourself. You have to discuss with your parents. And of course, we can always give you an advice, but not a blanket advice. If you are willing to forego that next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years to be able to get into a better law school than what you get this year. Apart from that, I think there is no hard and fast rule on this. Each one of us is different. So therefore, please take a decision based on yourself and your parents. We will only give you certain inputs for that. With that, I think Amitendra, thank you so much. Lovely.
Thanks, sir, for joining. Yeah.
And I'll also thank my colleagues Anjali and Shriyam who have been there, and Mr. I don't know, Divanji is there, or
Divanji is handling this.
My entire tech team has been very, very good. Wish you, till that time we meet again, wish you all the very best for the results of SLAT, and more importantly for all the upcoming exams coming your way. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anjali. Thanks, Shriyam.